So we're finally in the run up to Christmas, and this is one of my favorite times of year to craft because I think there's so much inspiration around. It's so nice when it's like cold out and a little bit miserable. Stay inside, watch a few Christmas movies, do some little Christmas crafts. Love it. Last Christmas, I knitted this, which is my little Christmas sweater vest with little reindeers on. I also knitted a matching jumper for my dog Merlin. So the two of us were rocking around last Christmas wearing that, and we will be again this Christmas. But truth be told, together they took me the best part of a month, I think, to make, which I just this year didn't have the capacity, didn't have the will to do that. So what I'm putting my festive crafting hours into instead is these mini projects. And most of them are ornaments or they're little fun things you can cast on and off in a few hours. You can sit, watch your little Netflix Christmas movies and just enjoy the time knitting without feeling like, oh, I've got to finish this project, got to do this. And without doing all the boring parts, without having to do, you know, arms and ribbing and all of that sort of stuff. So over the years, I've done quite a few of these sort of patterns. So here's a collection of my favorite free mini Christmas projects. So as I say, all of these are completely free. They're all ones that I've knitted before, some of them multiple times. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the projects are, my experience with them, and a little encouragement that you should give it a try too. So if that sounds interesting to you, then stick with me and let's get into it. So the first is a bit of a classic, and I'm sure you will have seen it on your news feeds before. So these are the Stjärna pattern by Karolina Eckerdal. I've done 3 and I've put them on a string, so that is why. They are these gorgeous stars. As I said, I've done it 3 times and I improved slightly between each one that I did. Now this pattern is originally for 2.5 needles using DK weight yarn. You might be able to tell these were knitted with Aran weight yarn on 4 needles. And that was just because at the time, those were the ones that I had available. Just like anything, because these are ornaments, it doesn't really matter as long as it's proportional to what the pattern is. So obviously you could do it with chunky, you could do it with fingering, however you chose to do it. You could obviously adapt the pattern that way. Now this is knit on double pointed needles. I will say, if you're a bit like me and you are a little bit phobic of DPNs, I just would say it gets better because you cast on a circular needle, and then when you make that movement to DPNs, if you're anything like me, start freaking out. And I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. This is too hard. It's really not. Once you get into it, it's a lot easier. I know some people listening probably use non-stop DPNs and love it. And what even are you talking about? But some people understand what I mean by that. So persevere, and actually you just follow it line by line. It's another one of these patterns. As you can see, you're starting from the outside and then you're working inwards, I should say. It's just really clever how it knits up. Patterns like this, and all of the patterns I'm going to show you today are like this, in the sense that they're just very clever. And if you've never knit anything like it before, you're sometimes thinking, how is this going to work? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Yes, you're doing it right, and it's really good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Would highly recommend. And these are amazing because obviously, as I said, I did 3, but you could do absolutely loads of them. They look so beautiful. Within the pattern, there's 2 types of stars. So there's type A, type B, or was it type 1 and type 2? I can't remember, but these are all the second type. So if you're wanting to recreate my plushy little stars, that's the second type. I think these probably take a couple of hours each, depending on your skill level. Obviously your first star, if you're going to do multiples like I have, it's probably going to take you a bit longer, but then you sort of get into it and you do it. Really great pattern. I mean, and how adorable is that? It's just so cute. So my next pattern is the Little Prince crown, or the Corona Principito by Silvia Cotillas. This pattern is in English, but it's also in Spanish. It's originally a Spanish pattern. So there are some accompanying videos with it, but they are in Spanish. But you can still obviously see what she's doing with it. So this is a crown. I've made obviously a human-sized crown. I also use this as the base to make a crown for my dog for his coronation outfit. And the reason why I put this as a Christmas pattern is because in the UK, and I'm sure we have this all over the world, we have crackers for Christmas meal, which is basically where, if you don't know, and maybe you do, and maybe this is ridiculous because everybody has crackers, but just in case you didn't, it is a little cardboard tube that you pull the ends of, and then in it you'll have a little toy, a little joke, and a paper crown. And then you obviously wear your crown for your Christmas dinner. So it's just a little fun thing. So you could knit one up so then you wear it to Christmas dinner and then you're officially better than everyone else at the Christmas meal, or you can make it for everybody if you're feeling super generous. So I will say that this pattern is, I guess it's called the Little Prince. So I don't know if it's originally aimed at children, but the sizing of it goes from a very small child head to obviously an adult size head. So just bear that in mind. If you're someone who's a bit lazy like me and sometimes you just think, meh, I'll just knit the medium, bearing in mind that the scale goes all the way from young child to obviously adult. So if you are knitting it for adults, you want to just go to the top end. This is size 4. So there is a chart that says to fit this size head, and I probably should have knitted the size above, but I was like, it'll stretch didn't really stretch that much. It's still fine, still fit. Just to say, you might want to shift up to the top end if you're knitting for adults. What I love about this pattern is that you see these bubbles at the top here, that is on the cast on edge. And you can also see this detail here, so it's just a lot of increases and decreases. And I actually would love to use this cast on for like a pair of socks or something. I think that would be really cool. But I just love that. I love these clever little patterns. And it's something that, again, when you start the project, you might feel like this feels a bit complicated because obviously the first round takes a little bit of time because obviously you're casting on your bubbles, but let me tell you, it is so worth it. It's great. And this is knit on a 40 centimeter circular needle, super easy. I will say, even with my hands, and I've got small hands, it did feel a bit sort of cramped because you're working quite closely together, but really cool, really, really cool effect. This took me, I want to say this again, was probably a few hours. So maybe this is a back-to-back Netflix movie, or again, if you are a little bit faster than me, maybe this will take you only an hour and you'll just be able to speed through it. But yeah, really love it. And it's got this lovely just plain knit stitch bit at the bottom, but if you were minded to, you could obviously decorate with gems or something in duplicate stitch. So that's essentially what I did when I used it to knit my dog crown. Obviously that was for the coronation, so it's supposed to be the crown jewel, so I knitted some gems onto that. So that's obviously something you could do with this as well. You could put letters on it, or you could really, the world is your oyster, you could do anything to make this personalized. So I just think that's such a fun one. You can also wear it as a buff. I mean, little crown buff. I just love it. I just love, as I said it a million times, said it in this video, I love these clever little patterns. I just think it's very cool. And I just think by doing it, you really enhance your knitting knowledge because you're like, oh my God, is that possible? That's amazing. So, love this one. So my next one holds a special place in my heart. This is This is the Merry Mini Tree, and the pattern is by Traveling Knits, at Traveling Knits on Instagram. And why this is special to me is that Traveling Knits is one of my friends on Instagram, and I actually tested out this pattern for her. It's such a clever pattern, but she only recently posted it on Ravelry, and since then it has been blowing up. It's got thousands of likes. I'm sure there was already like 40 or something projects already cast on, bearing in mind it's only been on Ravelry for a week or so. She's absolutely smashing it. For one, just look at that. How cute is that? This is knit in the round. It is seamless. You don't have to stitch any of this because it's all contained within the really clever way that this pattern works. So this is done by casting on with what's called a Turkish cast on. You may be familiar with that. I wasn't familiar with that. And again, it's one of these where you see it and you think, oh, I don't know that cast on. Is this going to be complicated? I promise it's the easiest cast on ever. And what it creates is a double cast on. So you're working both sides at the same time, and then it just sort of grows up that way. And the way that it works at the ends means, because I was like, when I was knitting it and starting it, I was like, how is this going to seal together at the ends? Am I going to have to sew it at the ends? No, the way that it works, it seals it at the ends when you work through it. So you just do that first bit, you stuff it, the second bit, you stuff it. It is so freaking clever. And this took me probably about an hour and a half, but that was only because I was looking up all the cast-ons and stuff, and I was like, sitting with my dog, and he was like whining about something or other. I think if I was getting into my groove of it, this would have taken about an hour, which is amazing. So that's like one Netflix film, or you might even be able to do one and then start the next on Netflix film. They are so more. So I've only made one so far because I've been working on other things. But if you actually look at her page, or if you look at the project page on Ravelry, you'll see everybody who makes them makes multiple of them because they're amazing. Like, it's just so clever. It's so nice. It's beautiful. And once again, because a lot of this is knit stitches, if you wanted to decorate it with duplicate stitch or do anything like that, you obviously could. You could also probably add some colorwork elements to it if you wanted to. I don't think that would be too complicated to do. Love it. So clever, so special, just adorable. And my final project, the beautiful Furry Fairies by Alan Dart. So if you're not familiar with the work of Alan Dart, I would highly recommend that you go and look him up. So this is completely free, but I bought one of his patterns, which was a Christmas Carol, which was all the characters from A Christmas Carol, but they're mice, and oh my God, it looks amazing. And I was planning to do it this Christmas, so I don't actually know if I'm gonna have time now. Maybe next Christmas will be the big Christmas for me to do all of those. But how cute is this little pattern? This is done in multiple parts, and then you sew it all together. It's a little fiddly, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not difficult, any part of it. It's just so you sort of make all the parts separately, and then you sew them all together and obviously weave in your ends and bits like that. And it is really clever because lots of the parts, like the way that they would sort of increase and decrease in shape, kind of like, what part is this? How's this fit onto the mouse? And then when it all comes together, you're like, oh, that's so clever. And there was a tip in it as well, which I absolutely loved, I'd never done before. For blocking, you block the wings and the star, so there's the gold part. Although I will say, they were silver in his sort of prototype in the pictures of it. And having done gold, I would say next time I'll do silver. It might just be my gold, but I think it just looks a little bit too yellow. I think it would be cuter if it was silver. For blocking, you obviously wet block them, stretch them out, and then spray them with hairspray in order to give them like a little bit more hold to them and to make them a little bit more angular. And it just looked really cute, and it just made them sort of a little bit more angular and a little bit more cool. That one again, this one probably took me about 2 hours, and then putting it all together and sewing it in was probably another hour, maybe 2 hours. A little bit fiddly, but so cute. I just think that's so special. And this is the one that I've probably got the most compliments on when people see it, because they're like, oh my gosh, that's adorable. I'm like, I know. I think it would be really cute to have like 3 of these all together in different outfits, which actually I was sort of planning to do, but you know me, I get easily distracted. So I haven't done it yet, but I will do that at some point. And if I think that'd be really cute. So would recommend that. So yeah, those are my favorite free quick patterns. Obviously there is probably plenty more. If you look on Ravelry, you'll probably find lots, but those are the ones that I've done and I love. And I don't really love those videos where people are like, here's 100 patterns I found on Ravelry. And I'm like, okay, have you done any of them? Not my business, not my business. But hopefully this will be useful, and maybe my insights on them will either persuade you or dissuade you from trying them. I'm not really sure. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I'd love it if you could like, subscribe, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. I look forward to speaking to you soon.